All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started with the October 16th meeting of the Town Council. If you will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so this evening, before we move into public comment, we have a couple of presentations, and our first one is from Weathersfield Rocky Hill Elks Lodge, 2308. We have a presentation of a check to our Rocky Hill Human Services Department, so we will call those folks up, and representing the Elks is Mr. Richie Policio. So please, thank you, and I'm going to come take photos, because that's my thing.
I think it's...
Well, these are mine.
I think it's right.
Let me stand.
Okay, we'll go back and forth here.
It's going to be a long night.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna sit, please. On behalf of the officers and the members of the Weathersfield Rocky Hill Elks Lodge, and to show our appreciation for the partnership with the Rocky Hill Human Services in our first ever suicide prevention and awareness program in the town of Rocky Hill was held on September 25th, and we're going to make it an annual event. And Melissa and her staff helped me out tremendously. So to show our appreciation, we're going to donate a check from Weathersfield Rocky Hill Elks Lodge, number 2308, in the amount of $200.
So I just want to say thank you. For anybody that doesn't know, Weathersfield and the Rocky Hill Elks is a huge supporter of our department. They do a lot of things for the food pantry. We've had drug awareness, now the suicide awareness, so we appreciate your ongoing support and look forward to continuing programs to offer to the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Policio, on behalf of the town of Rocky Hill for all that you do for our community, and you run a number of tremendous civic services, and for that we're very, very grateful. So thank you very much. Okay, we now have a special guest with us this evening, Rabbi Tuvia Brander, whom I'm going to call up to the podium because as you know, there is a lot going on in Israel right now, and we thought that it would be important to hear some words from the rabbi who not only do you run your own ministry, but you also do a lot of work for the Greater Hartford area, for the Jewish Federation, and we know that you serve on a committee that oversees things in Israel as well as overseas, and so you really are our ears and eyes, so to speak, and certainly an expert in the community, and so we just wanted to invite you here, and hopefully you can share some words with us and what your insights are, and how we as a community can come together, and what it is that you're doing in terms of outreach that we can support.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. It is such a pleasure to be here, although under very sad circumstances. I want to start by just thanking all of you in the town of Rocky Hill for standing with Israel in her desperate time of need. Your support today is invaluable. It lifts not only the Jewish community of the Greater Hartford, not just the Jewish community of America and not just the people of Israel, but all of us who believe that Israel is a beacon for a better future. All of us who believe in a world where no matter what, there can never be an excuse for killing children, for forcing parents to watch their children murdered in front of their eyes, for elders being burnt in their homes, and for innocent men, women, and children being dragged into terror tunnels as sinister souvenirs of barbaric terrorists. My heart is filled with lots of emotions tonight, and so many prayers swirl in my soul. So I want to leave you with a prayer from the Torah portion, from the weekly scriptures that we read this past week as we restarted our cycle of completing the entire 5 books of Moses. We began at the beginning, in the beginning in Genesis. At the start of the creation story, as the primordial darkness filled the world, filled the void, as it feels like very much these days, the Almighty commanded, Yehi Or, let there be light. And humanity, as God's junior partners in creation, we are tasked with perpetuating and perfecting that creation. We too are called to bring light, to distance the darkness, to amplify the light of others, and find the will to unlock the luminescence within our soul. And that's what you're doing here tonight, by sharing the stage, by bringing awareness to this critical issue that affects not just a region on the other side of the world, but all people who care about freedom and values and the pledge that we just took to our American flag. And so, as you ask, what can you do to help support this fight for freedom, for good versus evil? I think, number one, it's to speak out, to make sure that life doesn't go on as normal, that we take moments in these public spaces to recognize and observe and commemorate, as we're doing right now. I ask for your help in supporting both the Jewish community locally and around the world to reach out, to show that you stand in solidarity and in friendship. The Jewish community of Greater Hartford, through the Jewish Federation, is collecting funds to support the efforts to help those who have been displaced and harmed through these vicious acts of terror. You can participate by going to jewishhartford.org/standwithisrael. And most importantly, stay informed. Learn what's going on. Make sure that you don't just listen to whatever the talking head on the news says, but make sure you really understand what's happening. We're happy to continue to provide information for you and for this board and for any of the residents who need, so you can stay informed on this perilous battle that doesn't just endanger the people of Israel, but all of us. I again close in gratitude, in prayers for peace, for the speedy return of the hostages, for the well-being and quick healing for those who have been wounded, and the safety of both the men and women of Israel who are standing on their border and all the American service members who are currently protecting our world for freedom and for safety. Thank you for having me.
Does anyone want to say anything? I'm going to call up, I'm going to ask you to stay where you are, but I'm going to call up Pastor Ron Cox to the microphone. And Pastor Ron, if
I'll lend you mine.
if you'd like to share any words.
Being here.
Thank you for having us.
I posted a prayer on social media, and I just wanted to read it. And you can actually, and I put a graphic with it. But I wanted to express, this is the graphic. And the prayer that I put on is, create in us an understanding heart and draw from our depths an everlasting love. Show us how good and how pleasant it is for nations to live in love and unity. Create in us an everlasting hope, a hope of peace and unity, a hope for all the world. And that is my prayer.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so I just want to share something that we have for you, and I hope that it brings you a bit of solace. And it's called In Unity for Peace, a proclamation of the town of Rocky Hill. So, whereas Rocky Hill community is comprised of many people of Jewish faith, whom by their presence and contribution of time and talent make our town strong, vibrant, and a desirable place to live, work, and play. And whereas the recent news and images of the terrorist attacks on Israel have caused great heartbreak within our community and throughout the state. And whereas on October 10th, 2023, in response to these attacks, Governor Ned Lamont directed United States and states of Connecticut flags lower to half staff in recognition and in mourning of the lives lost in Israel. And whereas the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford continues to provide support for families both here and abroad, and whereas it is of utmost importance that with each passing hour, day, week, and month, that we remember the importance of community, the need to embrace our differences, and our moral duty to lift each other up in times of hardship. And whereas every voice that stands against injustice brings us one step closer to a world where peace prevails. And whereas terrorism and violence should always be condemned in the strongest possible terms, while peace across all lands should be given a chance. Now therefore, I, Lisa J. Murata, Mayor of Rocky Hill, ask that we join in unity for peace and find ways to comfort and support one another for the good of our community and for the good of the people around the world in which we share. Thank you.
I feel like I just say amen to that afterwards. It's a beautiful proclamation and a prayer. Thank you so much. I know you like pictures. So I'll take a picture.
Yeah, I don't want to. No, it's fine. No, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we will.
Madam Mayor, if I may just make one comment. I just want to say, as a member of the Jewish community in Rocky Hill, this past week, several of my non-Jewish friends in Rocky Hill have reached out to my family, asking if we were okay. And it does give comfort that people are standing with Israel. And I, for one, appreciate the folks that have reached out to me.
I also want to recognize that we have State Representative Kerry Wood here and State Senator Matt Lesser. I would welcome you to come up if you wish to say something. Otherwise, we can continue with the meeting. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, thank you all for being here and for your support, Rabbi. We are now going to move on to.
I have a couple of amendments to propose for the agenda before we go on to public comment, if I may. First, I move to amend the agenda to include an executive session item to discuss the performance evaluation of the town manager in accordance with Section 1-2006A of the Connecticut General Statutes. This would be item 11A, and I would propose to move the current item 11A to 11B. And also, a second proposed amendment to the agenda is to further amend the agenda to include an item to before I get to that, in that executive session, besides town council members, it also include Attorney Duncan Forsyth, town legal counsel, and Dana McGee, human resources director. Now, on to the second amendment. I'd like to further amend the agenda to include an item to discuss and possibly act upon the performance evaluation of the town manager, and that would be item 8C.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Do we need,
Yeah.
so we added the action as 8C, and then the executive session was 8B. Do we have to move C after we have the executive session?
Well, we'll table it when we get to it to do that, but to be technical, so the executive session we just add is going to become A, and the existing one's going to be B, just to make things easier for the people who have to join it, so.
Okay. We're going to move on to public comment. I'm just going to make a comment about public comment before we start. So for those of you who are new to public comment, when you come to the mic, you have 2 minutes, and you should know, most importantly, that the council is not able to respond to you. We're prohibited by Robert's rules. We're here to listen to you, but we cannot answer questions, and we cannot respond to any questions at any point during public comment or even during the meeting. So we're not trying to be rude, and we thank you for being here today. It was also brought to my attention before the start of the meeting that there was some type of posting at Concierge, a poster or something saying that the town of Rocky Hill is suing Concierge. Come to the meeting tonight. So if anyone is here, perchance from Concierge, you should know that we are actively involved in litigation. We have been for some time. We cannot ever comment about that. So even if you call us after this meeting, we're not going to be able to talk about it. So just putting that out there. All right, so moving on. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public, who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing comment remotely should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, at which time a link will be provided to attend the meeting, as well as instructions on how to participate. And I will now open the floor. When you come to the mic, just make sure you give your name and your address, please, for the record.
Good evening. Carrie Wood, 260 France Street. First, I want to thank the Town Council for having such a moving and really special start to the meeting. Thank you for doing that. I wanted to announce to the public as well as the Town Council that on November 2nd, I'll be hosting a State Services Day at the Community and Senior Center. This is important because the state is offering lots of opportunity, whether it's grants, whether it's a new RX card, which is a discount drug card. Some people qualify for lower or no cost utilities. Some people qualify for new windows and insulation. It's a lot to navigate, but people from the state will be here in person, so you'll be able to talk to someone, walk through those programs. I know just sometimes sitting on the phone trying to sign up for that might take a lot of time and energy, so come on down to the Senior and Community Center and talk to someone in person, and we'll help walk you through that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Guess I'm next. Good evening, and thank you for the 2 minutes. My name is Henry Vassal with the Rocky Hill Education Foundation. I just want to inform you on our next fundraiser coming up. It is going to be November 18th. It's rain or shine. We're going to have a 3-mile run at the Vets Home. And if you recall, the Rocky Hill Education Foundation, which is a nonprofit, and 100% of the proceeds go back to the schools. Last year, we were able to fund 4 scholarships for graduating seniors, as well as we purchased auditorium risers and chairs for Stevens School and iPads for the math program at the middle school. It's $30 for adults. Once again, 3-mile run. The run starts at 9:30 a.m. $10 for kids. Their fun run starts at 9 a.m. And even though we usually are 100% profits, once again, that go back to the schools, this one is exciting because we are going to share the proceeds with the Veterans Home. So anybody who would like to volunteer, please look us up, Facebook, The Education Foundation, and you should see links there for the fun run. Volunteers always welcome, 8 a.m. probably till 11 a.m. If you're not happy with the 3-mile run, we'll give you an extra mile. You can go around a 4th time, no charge. But it's going to be a great event, and this is brand new this year at the Vets Home, and we hope to go bigger and bigger every year as the years go on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Julian Finnegan. I am a resident of 200 Cold Spring Road. I don't know if any of you remember me. I spoke very passionately last time I was here, but I just kind of wanted to come and give an update from the inside. So there has been some minor improvements made that I've been able to observe. However, many of the most obvious and egregious issues continue to be an issue over there at Cold Spring. Interestingly, today, I did talk to, I've been working with the Fair Rent Commission in order to get a hearing so I can have my rent addressed because they tried to increase my rent. When I responded and said, can we talk about this? They basically just put me in a month-to-month, which I still am in. So I spoke with my personal attorney and the Fair Rent Commission, and my personal attorney advised me to go and speak to the manager to see if I could talk to them directly about, being in a month-to-month with a reduced rent, seeing as they are now bringing in new residents every day, showing them the apartments, and they're bringing them in at $100 less than what me, a current resident of 2 years, is paying right now. And with the ongoing issues, it just doesn't feel right. And I've been waiting about 4 months for the Fair Rent Commission to schedule a hearing for my case to be heard. So I just kind of wanted to put that on you guys' radar. And I don't know if you can accept materials, but I brought some pictures just from today that I took of the property that, if you're interested, you can check out some of the stuff that anybody honestly can see these things if you just go and walk around the property. Yeah, I appreciate the work that you guys are doing with the lawsuit and trying to get the issues resolved. I just kind of wanted to come up here and let it be known that there's still a lot of issues going on there. When I did speak to the manager today, they were incredibly rude to me about my request to have my rent reduced, saying that it is absolutely non-negotiable, that the Fair Rent Commission will not help me unless it's a $200 increase that they proposed, which I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. But they're being very discouraging of their residents in advocating for themselves or even continuing to be residents. So putting that on you guys' radar, and I hope that things continue to trend in the right direction and change, and that the Fair Rent Commission can get these hearings scheduled soon, because it's really impacting us greatly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on to appointments and resignations. Do you have the paperwork for? No. We are eventually going to get Dimple reappointed to that position that they are asking that he get reappointed to. Okay. Chris, anybody?
Not at this time.
Okay. Approval of the minutes, A, Town Council meeting October 2nd, 2023.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the town council minutes from the October 2nd, 2023 meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Madam Mayor, I abstain, was not there.
I abstain.
Okay.
I abstain as well.
Okay, 3 abstentions.
That's right, that was the short meeting.
Moving on to subcommittee reports, A, Finance.
I'm going to give the finance meeting update. I'll start with the normal monthly updates. There was nothing out of the norm. We're pretty early in the fiscal year, and we went through some of the numbers. Everything was pretty much where we would have expected it to be. Most of the meeting was spent talking about the 5 items on the consent agenda. The first 4 of the 5 are pertaining to Stevens HVAC project. As you may know, I believe Phase 1 was completed, and we're now moving into Phase 2. Phase 1 provided, I believe, central air conditioning to 10 classrooms, air conditioning and heating, and this next phase will do some additional ventilation work on those classrooms. This is kind of part of the process to bring all the schools up to code, and as far as HVAC goes. Stevens, I believe, is the final school to go through that process, and we're kind of in the planning process to go through that. The hope is maybe sometime by the end of summer of '25 to have that completely done. That's kind of the goal. We'll have to. Part of it's dependent upon time when we get grants and things from the state and applications and obviously
Jeff,
materials and things.
do we want to get the projector down because you have a slide up, I think?
No, not for this.
Not for this one?
No, government ops they do.
Okay. We are seeing something here on the screen, that's
Oh,
why.
no, that's for government operations.
Okay, thank you.
So there's 4 items on the consent agenda related to that, as seen here. These are similar to what we've done for other school projects. It just these are needed in order to go forward with trying to apply for the grants from the state of Connecticut. The last item on the consent agenda was also from the Finance Committee. It pertains to a tax refund to an entity that had overpaid their taxes, and because it's over $10,000, technically has to go through finance and then go through town council, so that's what we're doing tonight. So, the next meeting, we believe, is scheduled because of the election. It probably won't be until December 14th.
Okay, thank you. Government operations.
Okay. Now I'll go to government operations. So we had our government operations meeting this evening. Just to give you some of the updates, Firehouse 3 HVAC system replacement project update. The rooftop unit has been installed and is running. The complete project is 90% complete, and they're targeting to have it 100% done within the next month or so. As far as upcoming projects for the current budget year go, the primary one, and this is kind of an exciting one, especially talk to Craig in Parks and Rec, but and some of the other folks within the town staff, but they're currently working with a company called RLE, which is Resource Lighting and Energy, as well as Eversource, to take advantage of rebate and efficiency incentive programs that Eversource currently has for the upgrade of our park field lighting to LED and aging mechanical systems throughout town buildings. Basically, what that's doing is it's converting lights out of the ball fields and the parking lots and other town entities all to LED. It's an important project because, one, obviously LEDs are the way to go with lighting. Also, the current infrastructure we have, it's getting difficult to impossible to get replacement parts, replacement bulbs for. So this would be something we'd have to do inevitably. With this program, we hope to share a bunch of the costs with other organizations, which will help, obviously, the town spend less on this project, which we would ultimately need anyway. So as far as timing goes, RLE's expected to present to our finance director and Phil Sear on November 1st, and then afterwards to the finance committee, which will probably be that December meeting, and then eventually to town council after that. We have a deadline to have that agreement executed and signed by the end of the year. Some other updates regarding school building projects. I talked about the HVAC and the finance, so I'm not going to rehash that. We kind of discussed the same thing. It's about a $700,000 cost, though, I will say, for this phase, and we're trying to get reimbursement up to 44.64%. It is a competitive process, but we've had good luck getting money in the past. We hope to continue that. Applications are due by the end of November. We have made the final payment on the GMS Science Lab project, which is great, and we're submitting final paperwork on the GMS roof project with the state. Some other project updates within town, the Rock Hill Community Farm. They did have a 1 to 2 day delay in site grading. They ran into an unknown underground storage tank. They believe it's an old septic type tank. Luckily, disposal should be relatively easy and at a minimal cost, and we do have grant money remaining that we can use toward that cost, so it won't come out of the general fund. Let's see, Elm Ridge Park update. So those of you at home, I don't think we're going to bother putting the screen down just for one slide, but this is in regards to the new pickleball courts. It's going in front of planning and zoning this week. They've decided to move the proposed site of the pickleball courts. That's what you would see on the screen here. It was originally going to be closer to the skateboard park. Now, because of wetlands and things of that nature, they're talking about moving it more onto what Players Field is now, kind of in right field towards second base area. The hope is to be able to fit 6 pickleball courts in that area. I know a lot of people in town are excited about it. Anyone who's followed pickleball knows it's incredibly fast-growing sport. It's been growing double-digit percentages for the last number of years, especially down south, and now it's migrating up here. So I know a lot of folks in town have been asking about it. So the hope is to have that up and running in the springtime. So we'll have to see how the progress continues. We'll keep you updated on that. With regards to the Veterans Memorial Green expansion, the Bond Commission, I think some of you may have heard, approved reprogramming $500,000 grant to be used for this expansion. We do have to wait for some technical paperwork to be completed before design work can start. And there will be some public hearings on this project once they get a little further in the process. And lastly, update on the town council. Steve Soplak is going to give us, I think that's on the agenda later. Steve Soplak is going to give us an update on the sidewalk plan going forward. And, our next meeting is scheduled for December 4th.
Okay. Moving on to public safety.
Sure, Madam Mayor, Public Safety met earlier today. It started off with a really positive report from a resident at Cedar Hollow involved in a substantial auto accident on the grounds, and came to thank the police, fire, and EMT responders personally. And so we were really appreciative of that, and named Officer Carta and both Officer Garcia's and new fireman Anthony Spada. So, and our Aetna coverage, fire ambulance Aetna coverage, was the ambulance that covered that event. So we think it's always nice to get positive public comment, a great way to start the meeting. The fire department reports 68 incidents responded to, year-to-date total of 537. Training hours, 285. The year-to-date training hours are now 2,814, so they're really getting back to that. They are going to get a form of CALIA certification, and they are working on the four-year CROG emergency management program that they always update every 4 years. So that is a big push in the department at the fire. There are 2 new members in the pipeline. There are 12 new members year-to-date, 70 active, 65 total. Chief Dave Cromus will be retiring January 1st. We wish him well and in his retirement. Total highway funds billed on the fiscal year, year-to-date, $45,000. We are still owed $32,000 outstanding, but we are getting checks coming in weekly, monthly, so that's on track. The fire chief also responded on emergency management, which is working on that CROG incident program. And it's interesting to note at this point, before I go on to the police department as well, is that fire and police are ever vigilant, and they are monitoring for terrorist activity or notices, and they did meet. And so social media gives us a great platform. They did meet, and they were able to study the comments and not find them to be credible or of need of any action. So just so the community is aware that in this heightened time, departments are coordinating, and they are monitoring, and they are meeting and acting, so they are connecting dots. The ambulance, prior to public safety, Councilor Prakash met with both ambulance departments, Aetna and the Rocky Hill Volunteer Ambulance, in our ongoing effort to combine reports and identify the key metrics that we want to see on a monthly basis. And we thank Councilor Prakash for that extra duty of working on those reports. And I guess, I don't know if you want to say anything about the reports in particular?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's just a work in progress right now.
Work in progress. We're getting great reports from police and fire, and we're just building on that in terms of the types of management summary reports that they can give us, so that counselors that sit on public safety can better read what's going on and understand and communicate to the public. So we're thankful for that. The police department reports. For September, 3,003 calls for service, a year-to-date call for service of 28,458, criminal arrests of 28, motor vehicle accidents of 28, DUIs of 3, infractions issued 38, warnings issued 136, town tickets issued 3. We did have a 0 in there, Councilor O'Sullivan, for car thefts.
Yep.
So haven't seen that in a long, long time, and that is a good sign that things are working, and we're thankful for that. The Health District did give us an epidemiological report. All councilors will get a copy of it. There's nothing that we want to bring forward, I think, at this time, so we'll kind of skip over that. And we will note that thanks to the Elks presentation forum on suicide prevention, we did send along the materials from the esteemed panel that you assembled. The departments then reported back to us at Public Safety. You can see it on the video later about what they're doing and how they work with their staffs to try to spot overstress in their staff. This is regardless of responding to calls about suicide in the community, but worrying about first responders taking on undue stress and it not being noticed. We are working on that, and we have the support of our Human Service Department. Thank you for that as well. And I believe that would be our full report, and our next meeting would be, I believe, November 13th, the first council meeting of the new council in November.
Okay, thank you. Senior Liaison.
I like my short report after that. We only meet quarterly, so our next meeting is October 23rd at 5 p.m.
Okay. Land acquisition and farmland preservation.
No report, right, Chris?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, yeah. Next Tuesday, but no report.
Liaison to the state rep and the state senator.
State rep gave us a report earlier.
School liaison.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a report, and if you can get that, thing down, thank you. So, as I normally like to do, let's start with the good news. So the good news is all over, and that will be about 10 minutes, probably more, maybe 15, giving you a heads up on this. Can we move to the next slide, please? The first slide, thank you. So big congratulations to the Rocky Hill High School. They were named a National Banner Unified Champion School for their commitment to inclusion. And this is a very select group of schools, as you can see on that slide. Very few schools in every state get that recognition, and Rocky Hill is one of those schools here in Connecticut. Very few, like I said, out of like 6 schools here, right, on the list. So I just want to thank all the teachers, administrators, students, staff who put together a ton of hours behind this, behind the scenes, and for the BOE for embracing the diversity and empowering our youth and bringing this across the finish line. So while doing that, this is, again, I wanted to say, this is not an easy recognition. This is 10 standards which have to be met. So like I said, it's a big recognition, and I think it's worthy of all of our praise, and congratulations again to the Rocky Hill High School. And we are very proud of what's going on there in the high school as well as the school system. Having said that, our next slide, if we can move on to that, more good news. Like I said, a lot going on there. The next slide talks about the Dream Cafe, and this is, I put it out there because Rare Reminder had a really, really good article about this in the last week's Rare Reminder, and I want to congratulate the reporter there, Joan Hunt, who did the story, and it's a really, really great story about our Dream program. And as you guys, I don't know if you guys, if everybody knows about the Dream program, especially like people at home, but the Dream program is to give students with developmental disabilities the opportunity to work in local businesses, obviously with supervision, so that they are enabled to find their own work when they age out of the program, which is, I believe, 22 years of age. So once they graduate or past that age, they are like actually self-sufficient to do what they need to do to survive and thrive in the community. So that's the program. Now that program actually brings in a lot of local businesses, and our students here work with the local businesses, which is great, but every business has a different standard and parameters around which they absorb these students in their businesses. So Rocky Hill High School, and this is from the article. Brian Dillon and the school's administrative staff came up with this idea of like having their own business, right? And for that, they applied for a grant, and part of this is a grant where they could fund this Dream Cafe. So that cafe will be like operated by students with the help of a culinary chef who will train them. And again, like it's very heartwarming story, and I think if we execute it correctly, which I have no doubt we will, this is going to be great for our students in need, right? And I think this is something which will prepare them for vocational opportunities, not just like in the culinary industry probably across the board, right? Because they are learning like life skills, really, which they can apply anywhere, whether it's in the culinary field or otherwise. So I think this will be great for our community, for our schools, for our kids who have those needs. As I mentioned, like this is going to go online soon. I think the estimated timeline for this is late November. And early December. So again, really proud of everything that is going on in our schools, and I just wanted to shine a bright light on all the great work that our administrators and the Board of Ed are doing. So moving on to the next slide, this is something, Madam Mayor, you and I wrote to the rare reminder last week, and this is in context of the Diwali holiday coming up. So we wanted to wish everybody who celebrates Diwali a very happy Diwali next month, because this is the last meeting of this council, and we wanted to take that opportunity to actually put it out there, especially because November 10th this year is the first time we are having a holiday, an official holiday in the Rocky Hill school system for Diwali, right? So we are celebrating Diwali first time ever in our school system officially. So I think that makes for a special occasion, and that's why, Madam Mayor, you were very gracious to write that letter with me to all our residents who celebrate Diwali and all the students who celebrate Diwali. And we are really, really proud of this achievement because, as everybody knows on this council, we are a growing town, and on top of that, we are a growing town which is becoming more diverse. So our population is one of the very few towns in Greater Hartford area which is actually growing in population. And we have grown from, about I think it was 6%, growth. But out of that, most of that growth is coming from diverse communities. So I think that's a really, really important part of this, because what we want to do is we want to make an effort, and that's what we have been doing over the last 3 years. We are making a very intentional effort, a deliberate effort towards our goal for embracing the communities, the diverse communities which are within our community here in Rocky Hill, and fostering cultures and diversity among all people. And that has been the centerpiece of what we are trying to do here. So this is part of a broader effort, the Diwali holiday. It is part of the Commission of Inclusion and Innovation, the Task Force on Sustainability, and programs supporting our veterans. So really proud of this. Again, we want to wish everyone a happy Diwali next month. Since this is our last session of this council, I just want to take that opportunity. And Madam Mayor, thank you for writing that note. It means a lot, I know, for our community here. So moving on, I wanted to go back, just a break from all the great news. I just wanted to go back a little bit of on a different topic, which I had talked about last time. And I wanted to revisit this because I think, again, in the interest of people who are watching at home, if you missed last week's meeting, I talked about how well the Rocky Hill schools are doing, not just on the things I just talked about, but actually academic achievement, right? Because that's like I would say that is the main mission of a school, right? So we are doing a lot of good things around that mission, which I just talked about. But then, if you look at what we have been doing from the core mission perspective, from a standardized test perspective, right? From a measurement perspective, we should be all very proud of this, proud of our schools on that criteria as well. So again, standardized scores for students in Rocky Hill continue to exceed any peer schools, while our per pupil spending remains low when compared to any town around us. Any town. And that means 24 towns in our peer group, we are 18th in spending per pupil. And we are actually on the top of that list, the top two. So we are beating everyone around us pretty handily, right? And I'm not going to go through like every like category, but that's why I put this slide up, because I think you can read it like, and you go back and you rewind this and look at the slide. There are a lot of details there, but I just wanted to like convey that there is a lot of good stuff going on here, and especially I would like to point out that we are. I mentioned it last time, and the best way to put it is this. Put it the way like Dr. Zito likes to put it, like I think we like to kind of challenge ourselves, right? Every time we talk to Dr. Zito, like he comes here, does a presentation, he talks about challenging ourselves, and I think we do it really well. I think at this point we are doing it so well that we are challenging some of the schools outside our peer group, right, which are much more wealthier towns like Glastonbury and Avon, right? So I'm really proud of what's going on there, and I want to point out one specific item here, which really stands out, which is our learning loss by district during the pandemic is almost like something which we could have only hoped for, right, at the start of the pandemic. Like, and this is a reality today, right, which is all thanks to the decisions this body and the Board of Ed and Dr. Zito and its leadership team made during the pandemic. And it cannot be overstated how well our students are doing because of those decisions. And again, we are very proud of that. And we continue to do well, I think we'll look back on this 5 years from now, and we'll say, we really did something really important and which made a difference, right, to our students. When these kids are like, my son himself goes to high school here, I started going to high school, and I can see how that decision actually helps him, actually be prepared to what he's going to be up against in high school, right? So I think really overall, like that point I've been hammering for last couple of meetings, and I want to really hammer that home because it's our last meeting here for this council, and I think we should be all very proud of this achievement in our schools. One last thing I will say on this is there is a lot of talk out there on social media as well as in newspapers, but our Rocky Hill schools are funded at a very high level and are in better shape today than they have been any time in the past. And just on that theme, in my last report, I mentioned that people spreading some misinformation about our school budget in our local newspapers, notably in Rare Reminder and Rocky Hill Life, and in social media, as I said. But to be very clear about what I said last time, I was referring to the misinformation in the letters to the editors in these newspapers and not the news stories written by the excellent reporters at the Rare Reminder and Rocky Hill Life. I'm actually extremely grateful for those two newspapers who exist in our community and the reporters, and appreciate all their hard work in keeping our community informed. So just a point of clarification there. However, there is a lot of misinformation still out there with those letters to editors. I think there is a challenge there to fact check those letters. So I would like to go back in public interest and use this time to go back to my presentation and just highlight a couple of things again from my presentation last week, just in case our residents out there who are watching this meeting missed it. So moving on to the next slide, please. Board of Education budget for the last 4 years. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. I moved to the next slide, but I don't think the presentation moved. So now we are there. Okay.
You're good.
So, all right. So if you look at the last 4 years of the presentation, last 4 years of the BOE budget in this slide, what you will find is it has been pretty consistent from a growth perspective, right? Every year we are growing by about 3.5 to 3.8%. And that averages out to about 3.7%, I think, close to it, right? And I put it by year because I just want to make sure it's all in context. I just don't want to cherry pick like one number from the last year or like 2 years ago or 4 years ago. This is what we have been doing. It's all out there, right? And by the way, since I'm mentioning this, I want to thank Mona McKim here, like who provided me these numbers, and then I created a chart on top of that. And thank you for all the hard work for doing that. I cannot thank you enough for like all the great work you guys put in here from a staff perspective. So thank you, Mona. Moving on to the next slide. This is the Board of Education as part of our town budget, okay? And that number is also pretty stable, right? I think we are doing a great job in keeping up with the growth in the spending we need, trying to prioritize things while keeping that portion of the budget pretty stable. I think that's not a small feat to achieve. I think there is endless numbers of hours that go into this budget that the staff puts in, that the town manager and the finance director, and then this council spends endless number of hours to achieve this result, where we are actually doing the right thing for our schools while we are being fiscally responsible, okay? And I just want to make sure that I put this slide up there for a while because I'm just kind of disappointed, let's put it that way, right? I think disappointed is a good word. I'm disappointed that people will actually go out and say that we are cutting BOE budget. It's just not true, okay? And if you want to look at a third way of looking at these numbers, we can move on to the next slide, and we can look at the CIP, okay? Because some people like to focus on that, which is great because we do need a good infrastructure for our schools, right? This is the CIP. This is the CIP budget. It has never been below $250,000. What we are doing in this council is prioritizing our needs versus wants. And we fund our needs pretty well. And as we fund those needs really well, the proof is in the pudding. We are on the top of our peer group. And I said that like several times already. So I'm not going to repeat it, but I'm so proud I can say it like 5 more times. But you don't want to listen to me, so saying that 5 more times. So what I'll do is, in summary, I will say, I hope that people look at this presentation and look at the facts which are available before they make up their mind about anything budget related. And hopefully I'm doing a little bit of whatever I can do from this podium to help that, right? And again, like I don't want to be repetitive, so I'm doing this again because if you missed last time's meeting, this is another opportunity for you to go and check out the facts. So again, thank you so much for being patient. But I'm not done yet because this is the last meeting of our council here. So what I want to do is I want to thank a couple of members on this council. I will start with somebody I call Mr. Chairman because he is the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, and I am very proud to call him Mr. Chairman, and I'm very proud to call him my friend. He has been a mentor and a guide and a leader on that committee, and Ed, thank you for being all of that. And personally speaking, I couldn't have done it without your guidance on that committee and on the council, right? Because it's, again, like some things, my wife tells me this, some things have to be said. I think that's why I'm doing this. Because I know, it's understood that I do respect all of that you have done for the community, for this council, and for me as a friend. But I think it needs to be said, and I want to say it on the record so that everybody knows how great of a public servant you are and how great you have been. I will truly, truly miss you here, and I think the council will miss you here, and I think the residents of Rocky Hill will miss you here. I'm sure this is not the end of your public service. You're just not running for council, and that's just like one part of public service. That's how you do it. But I think we'll miss you nevertheless, and I'm sure you will you will continue to do what you do really well, which is being a public servant for this town. So thank you. And then I'm moved to my right because my friend Chris is here, Chris Duff, who is not running anymore too. And I really wish, Chris, you were going to be on the ballot this year in November. And I say this like, knowing that you're going to be on the other side of the ballot, right? So I'm fully aware of that. But I would like to thank you as well for all your hard work and working across the aisle, which is, I think, a kind of like a lost art, I guess. It's becoming a lost art, right? But thankfully, it's not a lost art in this council, right? So it's becoming a lost art, as we all know, at the federal level and the state level, and we don't want to go there. But I think in this council, I think you have been a leader in doing that. And it has been a pleasure working with you. All this time, 4 years I've been here. I know you have been on the council for 6 years, and I want to thank you for your service as well, and being a true partner in all our budgets and all our discussions, cricket field, Diwali holiday. I can go down the list. It doesn't mean we didn't have our differences. I think we voted like on two different paths on a lot of occasions probably, but I think those are the things which I think pale in comparison to like on all the things we work together on. So again, I want to thank you for your service, and both of you, Ed and Chris, and I think I'm speaking for everyone. We'll miss you here. So thank you, Madam Mayor. That was my report.
We didn't get a slide, though.
Don't tempt him. Give him 5 minutes.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Capital Improvements Committee
We're scheduled to meet November 29th, 5 p.m.
and Economic Development Subcommittee.
No meeting and no meeting scheduled.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda, items A through E.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any, no? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to old business A, update Connecticut Deep SMM grant.
I do have a bit of an update.
Do you have a
On
slideshow?
No slides. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You'll have to listen to me instead. But since our last meeting, we did get contact from the state about our pilot program, and they did reach out and say that they were holding off trying to get some more information for us. We've been informed that our current contractor, Murphy Road, has received authorization to do a sort of co-collection so they can do the bags and the separation at that facility. And with that said, that the state is asking if we want to take a look at our application and take a different angle, that we would consider co-collection rather than the separate curbside, which we had originally designed it around. So we are gathering information, getting some numbers together, and see if we can put together a pilot program. And from their perspective, being the state, that would be an element of unit-based pricing, and they will give us consideration on the a revised application. So good news in that area.
Yeah, so I think in a nutshell, the state had wanted us to go a certain route, and their consultant had, created this plan, and we were going to go to quantum, I think, with the organics. And now the state has realized, based on all of the other municipalities sort of testing these things out, that the numbers just will not work. They're not sustainable. So they've now given the permit to Murphy Road, which is good for us because now we're hauling everything in the same direction, right? Which makes sense. Although there will be, new costs associated with that, obviously, and I guess Mona's going to try to figure out what those are. But it seems that if the state is now pointing us in that direction, then that's probably the way we need to go, and potentially we can take a little bit more of that $750,000 and the small amount we would have taken just to do the transfer station. And then arguably, hopefully, we wouldn't have to spend our own money to do the transfer station because it would be incorporated in that DEEP grant. So I think that's the premise, right, of reevaluating.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you'd mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of different terminology that's kind of somewhat ill-defined at different points. You'd mentioned co-collection, and we've gone back and forth a couple different concepts. So, number one, this wouldn't require the town to commit to unit-based pricing, but we would still be considered within the scope of the grant they're trying to accomplish.
If we were to go town-wide, it would be a unit base, but they are entertaining us to show a pilot. And then, as I say, it would be an element of unit base, and for them, that would be acceptable for the application to try the pilot. And co-collection, meaning that it would be the one trash barrel with the one bag to say this is your regular trash, and the other is to say your food scrap, and then it would go straight to Murphy Road, who now has the ability with that new permit to do this separation.
So, I'm a homeowner. I'm a person with a garbage can, and instead of having, we've talked a couple different concepts. One of them is like you have your own container for the wet, not or the organic waste. It sounds like instead you just have you would have a container in your kitchen. You'd put your food waste in there, but then you'd bundle up in a bag and you throw that in with your regular garbage. It all goes in the same garbage can. You just have a different.
Same can, different bag.
Okay, so we wouldn't have to necessarily buy the new set of cans and manage it all that.
Correct.
It just goes with your regular garbage.
Yes. So, yeah, and again, I think we're saying that this is a pilot. Doesn't mean that this, after we look at it to see the cost impact, if it's a commitment to go town-wide, because that may, after grant, is available, once that runs out, it would be an impact to the budget. So it's not a commitment to do town-wide, but we should be able to move with a pilot.
And we're just getting data, so potentially, if I think that adoption's a problem, we could pilot another plan.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to new business A, update on the town pedestrian connectivity plan.
Unfortunately, we have a slideshow.
The Steve Sobolak Show?
Quick, it's gonna be quick.
This is only 4 slides. That's pretty good.
5. I think it was 5.
Hold on, Steve. You've got the intro first.
Oh, this is the pre-slide.
Dog and Pony Show?
Dog and pony, well, no, not really. While we refer to this simply as a town sidewalk plan, it's really a complete streets pedestrian connectivity plan that we've been working on at least since 2016 with a number of staffers, Steve Sobolak running the whole project for years now. And back in June 2023, the town council passed a resolution, the Complete Streets Resolution, basically a culture that promotes an interconnected community of healthy living. We're trying to sew all these sidewalk components that are all over town that Steve has been working on that are gapped here and there. Steve will have a number of maps that will show you 2000 and then progress, post 2000, and then what we're working on now and into the future. And again, I think of it as sewing these different gaps in the sidewalk together so we can both, walk, and Steve will be going over very quickly some bike ped routes that were proposed by the Rocky Hill Bike Ped Group to PIC, that PIC adopted as their plan, as well as this Complete Streets. So we have quite a team. We have Steve Sobolak, Jason Scott, our project engineer, and as well as Kim Ritchie had worked on this with the Planning and Zoning Commission, the PIC committee, Walk Bike Rocky Hill, and we have utilized a number of sources. Steve working with the State Highway Transportation, Planning Association, PED Safe, residents, town council, and local businesses and experts. So With that, I will spare you any additional verbiage from me and give it to Steve. And Steve, you have 2 minutes and 5 seconds to go through all these slides.
All right. So, for the record, Steve Soplack, Town Engineer, Director of Community Development Services. And with me tonight, we've been remiss, is Jason Scott. Jason's been with us for about 1.5 years now. He's, when Jim saw me retired, I moved up to Jim's spot. Jason came in to backfill my spot. So wanted to bring him out here tonight. And we really haven't had much of an opportunity to actually present to you recently, so thought it'd be a good night so you can get familiar with Jason. Ray, am I just flipping this, or I need that map with the packages, I think it said?
Here you go.
I get to do this?
He's got it.
Cool.
He's got it.
Here you go.
Yep.
Here we go. I got it. All right. So we can all see this. I don't know how to get this full screen, but close enough. So I picked the year 2000 as a date to focus on. One, that's the year I came to town, and two, it's kind of when we get the mass development kind of started to wane. So if you see here all these orange spots here, this is the sidewalk network we had basically in 2000, and it's hard to read, but down the bottom we have mileages that are, I gotta pull out my notes, I'm sorry. I got too many attachments today. So we had 126,000 linear feet, or 24 miles roughly, of sidewalk on town roads. What some people don't realize is we also construct and maintain the sidewalks on state roads. The state doesn't build sidewalks. So we had, at that point, 32,000 plus miles, or a little over 6 miles, on the state roads, so about 30-mile network in 2000. Since 2000, between reconstruction, converting some asphalt sidewalks to concrete, and our streetscape on Silestein, some enhancements, some repairs, we've performed about another 10 miles of sidewalk on town roads and almost 4 miles on the state roads. So it's 14. So we added 50% more sidewalks in the last 20 years than what we had prior. And at that time, the charge when I came was to, all these blue squares you see here are schools. So it was to fill the gaps. There were some, but not all. So the concentration at that time was to get sidewalks in and around all our schools so the students would walk to school. We know that doesn't really happen. So currently we have that, like I said, about 40 miles of sidewalk on town roads, 15 or so on state roads. Moving ahead, these are currently funded projects, of which there's 4 on our roads that are going to, well, not all our roads, but there's 4 that are state funding. A LOTSIP grant for Elm Street, which is going to get bid this winter to fill a gap. A STEEP grant and a LOTSIP grant to take care of Century Hills Drive. This is going to be roughly half and half. And a LOTSIP grant for Glastonbury Ave. We're still waiting to hear official word on the LOTSIP grants for Glastonbury and Century Hills. We have the verbal. It is in review at DOT, and they're just putting, hopefully, their stamp on it, sending it back, and we'll eventually get the notice to proceed. 2 other areas that have been on the radar here for a bit, and one is funded through the CIP, is Washington Street, and the other is Hayes Road. And I believe that's non-reoccurring, is that what it is? Yeah.
Correct.
Non-reoccurring. So just to give you an idea, those projects add up to about $3 million for those 5 sidewalks. And when you look at the estimates, the ones that are getting grants, they average out about $300, $350 per linear foot. So it's not inexpensive. We find that when we bid this on our own, these come in at about $100 linear foot. So whenever you add in these components of the grants and all the requirements that you have to meet for the federal side of things, it's not that it's anything more than we would normally do, and we're doing it anyways. It's just when it gets bid and all the that old thing about the $3 million hammer at the White House kind of thing. So it just adds. So that's currently funded programs, and that's to give you an idea, that's about 2 miles of road. And then second to last slide, these are future considerations, all the purple lines. These are all areas that we've heard from either through studies or we've identified or others have called. And the couple hot ones, as you know, are getting to the town line on the Silestein. We've been getting a lot of requests recently on the Brook Street north to the Mosier School area. And then also France Street, filling some gaps on France Street. And then now with the new park on the corner here, what's the name on that?
That would be,
I'm sorry. We still all call it Straska Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to get to there, we're looking at sidewalks.
Rocky Hill Community.
Thank you. In and around the park area. So we're looking at sidewalks there. And again, it's a couple 1,000-foot road at $100 a foot. It adds up quick. So to give you an overall, don't be confused. So this is showing a little bit of everything. What I have is green is your parks, blue is your schools, purple, which you can only really see a couple, are your houses of worship. Yellow is your commercial and business areas, and very difficult to see at this scale. But there's a yellow line running up the middle of some of these roads, and that's the bus lane. So when we talk complete streets, you also have to take into consider the bus routes. So to summarize the numbers now, a full build out, well, let's say with the currently funded, pre-post and the currently funded, we're looking at 36 miles of sidewalk on town road, 10 miles on state road. And then we have about another 9 or 10 miles of other sidewalk identified, not including some of these subdivisions like the Berkshire area, up on the north side here where I guess that's Deming Road and such are. They don't have any sidewalks down on the southern part. These are all like the 1950s kind of subdivision. Some of them are. So questions on that?
Is the sidewalk master plan online somewhere where interested folks could see it? Or are there plans to expose that to the public?
We can put it up. I don't want to say it's there, but I'm not positive. If it's not up to date as of today.
But the new one, there's a plan to.
Well, this would be where we're looking at. We have these areas for 2024-25. That's, like I said, that's $3 million worth of sidewalk. It's quite a large project. Moving forward, we have these purple areas. So yeah, we'll gladly put it online.
I think it would just be helpful to show people the vision.
Yep.
And Steve, can you give us a sense of which ones are in the pipeline as far as sequencing is concerned? You've talked about a number of potential areas. What can when people start asking?
The ones that have been funded are yes, and then like I said, the ones that seem to be hot are France Street. If you look, you can see. I'm disappointed this doesn't really show up as well as I thought it would. There's some gaps along the way, and we can fill that gap. People from, say the Woodfield Drive neighborhood and beyond can all get down to Route 3. So that's been a hot one. The Silestein, which is going to be very problematic, is one that's always on the table. We'll need help with the state on that, just because you have those off ramps and there's no stop control and no traffic lights. We now have Vision Zero. I drove it today. You come around that, especially if you're going southbound on 91 and take that exit and you loop around, you're doing this to check for cars. You're not looking ahead of you to see a pedestrian. So it's going to be a lot of work in coordination with DOT. And another one is new road because of the new community farm. So those are kind of the three we've identified that can change. I would say Franch Street is probably number one after these other ones that are funded. And another one gaining traction, as I said, is from Brook Street north to the School Street. Been a lot of calls as of recent for that.
We've had a number of accidents as well at the intersection of New Road and New Britain, which will be near the community farm. I understand sidewalks are one aspect of it. Anything in terms of existing safety measures that could be improved near there? I don't know how, because it's really challenging at the intersection.
Funny you should ask. I was just on a call. So the DOT has a plan to update the signal there, and this call was, so this project they have is just not Rocky Hill, it's like 5 or 6 other towns, so there's all these different towns on. So when I found out about this over the summer, I put in a request. I said, we've had a couple fatals there, we've had numerous high incident place, can we look at doing something there, turn lanes, that kind of thing. And we just had the phone call the other day, and this project does not include that. All they can do is upgrade the signal. I said, I hate to see you put all this money into a signal, and then 2 years from now you come on a new project and you're removing that. So they're going to try and make some considerations, so whatever they do, they can reuse. But I need to find another avenue to I guess the guy who was holding the meeting, he said, give him a call and we'll talk and see if we can push it onto a different unit there.
I think picking up on Chris's question also, and I think that's the state, those
Yes.
lights are flashing like at 10 o'clock at night, and especially on a weekend. I mean, you're coming up there, you can't see.
Yeah.
And you're trying to,
Yeah.
especially in the wintertime, if it's slippery, they really need to be on
It's
later weekdays and weekends, and
So-
it's ridiculous.
So they do flash. I'll have to look at that list.
Clock, and then they go out.
Okay.
Go on, I'm out with my old dog, so I know the
right.
time. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, they go back on, and, you see people, and they're coming up, and they just go because you can't
Yeah.
can't see it.
Well,
It's-
I'll be calling the gentleman who's in charge of the project to update the signals. I'll say not totally upgrade, but update it, and we can talk about that and changing that
I think
up.
all three of them, I don't know one by you, Chris, but I know Hayes Road and Trinity Ridge, they're flashing. The one by you is.
Kobe flashes.
I don't think Kobe flashes to that left.
Ironic because that's the newest one. So you'd think it'd
10
flash.
o'clock. Flash.
Yeah. Okay. No other questions? All right.
Well, thank you for your presentation.
I got the bikes. 1 sec.
You got what?
One more.
Bicycles.
Bicycles.
Oh.
So this is real quick. So, we don't have a formal bike ped committee here in town. There's a volunteer organization. And so this is potential bikeways in town. And if you look at the red, those are all areas that have been identified by the state's bike study as not suitable for bicycles. And you notice it's all the state roads like Elm Street, Route 99, Route 3. But one area that the volunteer group identified is Cold Spring Road, Woodfield Crossing, New Road, Trinity Ridge, Falcon Ridge, Wesley Terrace. So we've been talking about that one. I can zoom in, I guess, a little on that. So which I think is a good idea. They've all been paved recently, except for Trinity, which should be going this week or next. They're all 30 feet wide, curb to curb. For a bike lane to work, you need a minimum of 4 feet. So, and I need a minimum 11-foot travel lane, so that just about squeezes in a bike lane. And what a bike lane would be is, let's see, where's my pictures? So the bike lane is going to be, wow, that's small. Is going to be basically your lane line would move over 4 feet off the curb, and you have to paint the symbols. All right, and then so that's one option. Another option would be the Sharrows, which you might have seen around. It's the little share of the road. It's the chevron over the bicycle. You don't have the line. These are a lot more common, especially if you don't have the width. It's just saying share the road. You can do the same thing with signs. So I've offered this up to the committee, and we talked about it at PIC. The members of PIC endorsed it. Some of the members that were in the audience did not. And I understand the concern. It gives you a false sense of security that, hey, I have the right to write, which you do, but it does give you a false sense of security because it's out there. The bike lane, yeah, it might give you a little more sense of security because you have this stripe, but you know as well as I do that people don't stay within those lines most of the time. So that's two of the options. The cost would be relatively the same to do that road. It's about 4 miles one way. So it'd probably be about $3,500 to lay down the paint either direction, either method we do. And then, of course, we need signs. So I'm just looking to see if the council has any thought, because I could do it this fall.
What happened to Mr. Ciccarello's bike path?
That's the one. That's.
But can you just go back to that?
So
slide?
that is
because his went to the schools.
well.
Went to the
That's
parks.
he had a much bigger plan, but again, some of it was on the state roads where it's not endorsed.
So what happens? I take my kids. We go on this bike path, and then it just abruptly ends. I have to go back now. Is that the thing?
You can ride. So you can ride anywhere.
No, but I mean, if we're going to identify
Right.
this as a
Well,
bike
that's-
path, it's if
you basically
you end,
you can,
and then what do you do? Like,
Well,
obviously, I can continue biking. but
exactly.
Is it like bike at your own risk?
Exactly. So, because I can't paint a state highway. So anyway, slice, I'm going on a state road. We don't have that ideal loop. Even when you get down here, if I came down, say, Cold Spring, you still have to get on Route 3 and then cross over. Anyway, slice, I'm riding on a state road where, as you can see, I got that red line, not encouraged, and I can't paint or sign it. We tried to put up the farm-friendly signs, and they wouldn't let us put those up.
Steve, can you go through some of the neighborhoods, or do you have enough width, for example?
Well, yeah, let me explain the neighborhood. So, I mean, one of the things that kept coming up on the PIC committee is, look at similar towns next to us, and they have these great maps online. They have the maps online, but you go to those communities. I've driven them. I've also looked at it through the aerial photograph. There's no marks anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's just an identified plan.
it's identified plan,
Yeah.
exactly it. There's no paint marks. You do see more the Sharrows, the chevron with the bike, than you do the bike lanes.
But this one, so I can't see it, but
So what are we talking?
yeah, right there where your hand is, and
Yep.
see where it ends.
Yep.
Is there a way just to loop it back so like children who are bike riding, they can just say, okay, I'm going to go on this route, and then parents say, okay, you stop there, and like, can we go onto one of those little neighborhood streets and loop it around and then make our way back?
We could do something like that, I guess, but then when I'm coming back out,
But even right where you are, like,
come
what is that
here,
neighborhood?
then I come in front of, this is West Hill School, and now I'm back on the New Britain Ave.
Can you read it?
So you have to turn around somewhere. Anyway, slice it, you turn it around.
Route 3 is intersecting that whole.
No, but what is
Yeah.
this up here?
Where, right here?
Yeah, now go right there. What's that?
So
Like,
this
above
is-
it.
So this is
below. That right
Candlelight.
there, yeah.
This is Candlelight, comes out on Cronin in front of the school, West Hill School.
But what's the cul-de-sac? Up.
Oh, you can go to Stagecoach and turn around, sure.
Or just before, there's like a loop street
Yep.
there.
You could do that, yep.
That's a good spot.
There's North Condor.
So could we just
You
like
could do something, but
include
again,
that?
like I was saying, if you look at other towns, they just highlight those roads as their bike-friendly roads.
Right, but if there's a way to include one of those cul-de-sacs, just so we sort of complete it without.
I guess we could, you could probably stop it here, go up. Actually, stop it here, just loop around.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
because if you can never connect, right?
Well, I'd never say never, but at this point in time, I'm not allowed to go put in these things on a state road.
And then similarly, if you go further down your picture, keep going down a little bit. Yeah, right there. See, there's another loop there instead of going.
Yeah,
backwards.
we'll be on, this would be Century Hills Drive. We can just go back. You know, this is,
No, but a little further up to the right. It's hard for me to, yeah, now to go to your right a little. Right there, yeah, right there.
yeah.
If you-
I wasn't going to do anything on this. This was just identified as
Oh,
a,
okay.
yeah, right now, see the little blue dots? That would be my route right now.
Okay.
It's just, and that's
it
a
does
4-mile ride one way. So that's 8 miles. That's a pretty good.
So the
good
southern
ride.
part loops already, which is good.
Yeah.
Steve, when you're talking about painting lines and chevrons on the road, are you putting them on both sides or
Yes.
just one side?
Yeah, you'd have to do it on both sides.
Both sides, so you can
Both
turn
sides.
around. And
Yeah. And then the regulation, believe it or not, is every 250 feet, which seems a little bit much. Most of the public works guys I've talked to use the guidance of, can I see the next one from where I'm at? So rather than every 250 feet, because then it's like sign pollution, basically.
I guess for what's worth, I'm a regular bike rider, just my opinion, I think the sharrows are absolutely useless.
And that's the feedback I hear.
Yeah.
It gives you a false sense of security.
No, it doesn't. I'm not fooled.
Well, yeah, you're not. So,
So it sounds like redo the line, the full bike lane.
I think that's way better.
Yeah.
yeah.
As a non-biker, I know where my car should be or not be.
Yeah.
One thing that we might want to consider, I know you mentioned signage, and right now, this looks like it's kind of limited to one part of town. Eventually, if we have different loops, it may be interesting to see if there's little signs, like, you know, how when you're in a state park and they've got the different, like, trails. Oh, I'm in the blue trail. You know, follow the blue trail to know that you're in the loop at the
Yeah,
cul-de-sac.
we could call this, yeah. Give it a name, maybe have a contest with the school kids or something, I don't know.
Just something that'd be easy if you're on your bike or even if you're walking that way. It would be helpful to, you know, just know kind of how to get where you're going and how to get back. And the other thing is, as we're looking at these ways to cross state roads, I guess you don't have to be on your bike the whole time. So if we evaluate where there are good crosswalks, that if that's
Yeah.
such a thing that could happen, you can get off your bike, walk across. I mean, you might not want to be going across, you know, biking across Route 3.
Yeah.
That might be a thing to help tie things in as well to consider.
Steve, can we work with DOT to identify those potential cross areas? I think it might be a good idea to do that.
We could see who we can find to talk to, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it sounds like you folks would be on board with some sort of loop. All right. Very good. That's all I have.
Well, that's super exciting, and I know Mr. Ciccarello will be thrilled because it's been like 5 years.
Well, our last
That
pick,
he's been trying
our last pick
photos,
meeting, we said this
trying
is the final time we're
express-
talking about it because we got to move off of it and get on to other things.
All right. Thank you, thank you. All right. Let's see. We are at new business B, discussion possible action, authorizing resolution for emergency management and homeland security.
Do you want me to?
Would Joanne read that resolution in?
Okay, authorizing resolution of the Rocky Hill Town Council. Certification. I, Joanne Booth, the clerk to the Council of Town of Rocky Hill, do hereby certify that the following is a true and correct copy of a resolution adopted by the Rocky Hill Town Council at its duly called and held meeting on October 16, 2023, at which a quorum was present and acting throughout, and that the resolution has not been modified, rescinded, or revoked, and is at present in full force in effect. Resolved, that the town of Rocky Hill may enter into with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate. And further resolved, that Raymond Carpentino, as town manager of Town of Rocky Hill, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Town of Rocky Hill, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents. The undersigned further certifies that Raymond Carpentino now holds the office of Town Manager and that he has held that office since November 11th, 2022. In witness whereof, the undersigned has executed the certificate the 16th day of October 2023.
This is required because I have become the town manager and they need a new updated signature. John Mayer was the previous signatory. So it just allows us access to funding.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, make a motion to accept that resolution?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to the mayor's report.
Actually, before that.
Okay.
Sorry. Can I make a motion? We have new business C that we added as amendment to the agenda. Make a motion to table that until after our executive session on the same
Yeah.
topic.
Okay. You second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the mayor's report, just a few things that we have coming up Saturday, November 4th.
No slides?
I have no slides.
Punkage, get on that.
Saturday, November 4th, from 2 to 3:30 is a pre-Diwali celebration. And I believe it's actually sold out. It's sold out in 2 days. That's how significant the desire is, right? And sort of that need of our community. So at the Rocky Hill Community Senior Center, there's going to be a fabulous afternoon full of culture, and I'm excited for all of you who have tickets. Maybe there's a waiting list. You can check with the senior center for that. I want to give a really huge shout out to a gentleman whose name is Mr. Amenta. If you go on to the mayor's social media page, you will see a beautiful photo of him and his neighborhood. So he lives off of a street that intersects with France, and it's right where there is one of those little bridges and a beautiful stone area that he took upon himself to beautify with mulch and plantings, but it was an incredible labor of love. It took many, many, many days, and as he would tell you, he did it, little by little, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And so we want to thank him for taking such pride in not only his neighborhood, but in our entire community. So thank you, Mr. Amenta. About almost a couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to Robbinsville, New Jersey, with my husband to visit the brand new BAPS Akshardham Temple, which is absolutely incredible. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last time, but did I? No. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it now. It's this incredible temple that was started, Hindu temple that was started back in 2019 by, I want to say, 1,200 volunteers. Not 1,200, 12,000 volunteers over many, many, many years who would go to New Jersey. They would start in India, they would go to New Jersey, and they would just leave work, leave school, and volunteer to build this temple. What's notable about it is of those 12,500 volunteers, 9,000 were women. And it was the very first time that women were actually involved in the sculpting process, which is really incredible. And, again, these are just teachers and doctors and students who literally put their life on hold to contribute to building this temple. What's magnificent about it is it's all hand-carved marble. The exterior is made out of sandstone, and the interior is made out of softer types of marbles from around the world. And they actually built the entire thing in India, took it apart, shipped all the pieces to New Jersey, and rebuilt it again. I have a mini version of it downstairs in the lobby of our senior center for anyone who wants to take a look at it, as well as some books about it. There's this incredible river that is sort of in the middle of the property, which is just I think well over 100 acres of property. And the river contains waters from rivers all over the world. And it's just, when you go inside, you're not allowed to take any photos inside. And I'm not sure that there are even any in the book right now. But I would encourage all of you, if you can take a trip to Robbinsville, New Jersey. It just opened to the public. I had the pleasure of going just prior to that grand opening when His Holiness was there. We had a very special presentation. It was truly a moving experience, and I think it was probably the most powerful example of Seva, which is, giving back to your community through events and buildings and things such as this. So I would, in the spirit of everything coming up in Diwali, that is downstairs, and please, I encourage all of you to go take a look at that, because it's pretty cool. And what else can I share with you? Just going through my notes. We had pretty cool jukebox bingo downstairs. And I think that's about it. So, yep, just checking. And we talked about we had someone here from the Ed Foundation, the Rock the Hill, Saturday, November 18th is coming up. So sign up for that. And so this is, like Councilor Prakash said, the last meeting of this administration. So I just want to say on behalf of myself and the council, thank you to Ray and Mona for everything you've done for us and for putting up with us. And I want to say to all of the council members that it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with you. For those of you who are not running, thank you for your service and your time, because it's greatly appreciated. I know that people still don't believe that we do this for free. Like there's no commission, no paycheck, no tax break, no gas mileage. I mean, it's really, I think we have an email account, right? So it is truly a labor of love. And so, Deputy Mayor, thank you for your many, many years of service. It's going to be, it's when anyone steps down who's been involved that long, it's always, it's a big transition. And same with Councilor Duff. It's been a lot of years, and Chris has always been that one, on social media who takes the high road, and he just puts the facts out and the information, and he's always keeping the public informed. And he's really been a source of, information and, frankly, inspiration for the community for many, many years. And so we hope that you will continue to stay involved in commissions and all things like that. Or else you can just say back when I'm done and raise your children and be happy. So happily ever after, yeah. So, I'm going to just tell you very quickly, we've worked on a lot of things together, prioritizing a lot of things, working within our budget was always this administration's top priority. We've had a lot of challenges throughout the years, and we don't need to go into those, but coming up with solutions to grow the grand list and finding ways to do that through economic development, focusing on schools and public safety, building an inclusive community. We've talked about the many things that are going on in the schools, building a foundation for sustainability. So I want to give a big shout out to folks who are involved in things like, Councilor Levine, who had his electric vehicle at Fall Fest, and he powered up our tent, which was really cool, and they were watching football on the big screen TV. So, I mean, it's really neat to see the energy, no pun intended, that's coming from the community to get involved in those types of initiatives. moving projects forward, like the HVAC system and school plans, again, within the budget, and phasing those in. And I just want to thank all of the families out there who have entrusted this administration over the past 2 years, and it's been a pleasure for all of us. And that's my report.
My turn.
It's your
I will
turn.
I will be a bit shorter.
Okay.
Community Resilience Workshop. The Town Council at the last meeting authorized us to submit a letter to be included in this particular workshop. I've established an initial core team, which is required of the program initially, and also reached out to our contact at the Nature Conservancy to schedule a kickoff meeting with our Sustainable Rocky Hill chairman and several members of our staff, and hopefully we will meet within the next 2 weeks. We're trying to coordinate a number of different calendars right now. The IT department will be applying for another, what they call a PEG-PECIA grant. We went through 2 rounds of that grant to upgrade the video and audio in this room twice over the past 15 years. They will be applying to upgrade the audio again, and also retrofitting the executive council chambers for executive sessions, so we don't have to use our cell phones if somebody can't make it. As you all heard, the State Bond Commission approved the reprogramming of the $500,000 grant that was secured by Representative Wood to the expansion of our Veterans Memorial Green. We'll be working on that soon with DOT and community development. Steve Sopelak has been working researching costs associated with preparing a town-wide drainage study that we had discussed that's desperately needed. Discussions with engineering firms reveal that there are state and federal funding opportunities which we'll be capitalizing on probably within the month to look at maybe prioritizing certain watersheds that need the most work the soonest. So we'll be trying to get a handle on costs for that particular project. A couple of things that I'm going to add. You missed Veterans Day, November 11th, but it will be celebrated here in Rocky Hill on November 10th, Friday, at 11 a.m. on Veterans Memorial Green. Parks and Rec had sent out 548 letters to our local veterans as an invitation. Fall Fest was a big hit this year. As you all know, there was no foam. Maybe next year.
I really missed it.
Yeah, I know you
And
did.
the mayor as well, I know that. She's not saying anything, but she did.
And last, but definitely not least, at your counter, there was a flyer. This is the first ever Town of Rocky Hill GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award presented to, it says the Town of Rocky Hill, but it really should be going to Mona McKim.
Outstanding.
Yeah, this is very exciting. There was a goal of Mona's to get this award, to prepare a budget like this, so I just said, go for it, you know. It's something we've never done, something we needed. We will be continuing to hone that budget process. This first year we did it, it was, you know, our first attempt. We got an award for our first attempt, so we'll be just shooting uphill from here. And that concludes my report.
So when the official award comes in,
Yes.
right, we can have like a cake and a party. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So stay tuned.
Thanks.
Do we have to move to the other side of the wall and start putting plaques up?
I think we have to.
There's a lot of room there.
I get the other side.
We'll start the other side now.
I think so.
All right, let's.
So I'd like to make a motion, because we're not done yet, to go into 2 different executive sessions. The first of which is executive session item to discuss the performance evaluation of the town manager in accordance with Section 1-206A of the Connecticut General Statutes, to include Attorney Duncan Forsythe of our town legal counsel and Dana McGee, Human Resources Director. And the second executive session is with the town manager, director of human resources and legal compliance, chief of police, and director of police and operations to discuss records, reports, and statements related to strategy and negotiations with respect to collective bargaining.
All righty. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
listing out just how much you'll have.
Okay, so we are going to come out of executive
I'll
session.
make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with respect,
We have to untable,
okay,
so make a motion to take off the table, item C. I don't have the wording in front of me, but regards to the review of the town manager.
okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the council has unanimously determined that the town manager, Raymond Carpentino, has met expectations. And we will move on now to our next executive session.
Do we need to prove the?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for the express purpose of executive session with Town Manager, Director of Human Resources and Legal Compliance, Chief of Police, and Director of Finance and Operations to discuss records, reports, and statements related to strategy and negotiations with respect to all collective bargaining. Do I need to read in the sections?
I think we got it.
Section 1-102, okay.
I'll second.
With attorney and with counsel and Dana McGee.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.